Hi, today we will be completing a digital search story that answers the research question, how do performance-enhancing drugs act in the professional athletes to enhance performance? Because we want information on performance-enhancing drugs and professional athletes and physiological impacts of the performance-enhancing drugs on the professional athletes, we are going to use the search statement, performance-enhancing drugs and professional athletes and physiological impacts. And all of those words are in quotes because we want articles containing those exact words. When we enter the search statement into Google, some of the pages that come up appear to be some great sources, such as these .gov pages and a collegiate library page. And we have another .gov page right here. But some of the sources on this page appear to be a little bit more personal and blog-like sources, such as this Reddit source right here and wiki spaces right here. So we're going to go ahead and use the .gov sources because those are the most reliable. If we click on the .gov source right here, a page comes up that talks about the effects of all of these different types of performance-enhancing drugs on athletes' performance, and it analyzes what the drugs are physiologically doing in the athlete's body. So this is a great source, and it's a .gov source. Now that the page has loaded, we are able to see that there is a sitemap and an index and even a contact us, which increases the credibility of the neighborhood of this website. Additionally, there are some sponsors down here that also are really credible and great sources, which makes me feel really good about the information in this source. Now we're going to click on that collegiate library source because that potentially could have some helpful information that's also pretty reliable. But as I click on it, I see that it says using genetics to detect homologous blood doping, and that's not necessarily what my research question is looking for, and that's not very focused, even though this could potentially serve as a great source because we have an author, we have a year, and it's the University of British Columbia Library, which is a pretty credible, it's a university source, so it could be a good source, but it just doesn't really answer my research question. So now we are going to look at not only how performance-enhancing drugs affect professional athletes physiologically, we're going to look at how they affect professional athletes athletically with increased results, championships, through performance-enhancing drugs. And we're doing this because that's encompassed in the research question of how performance-enhancing drugs affect professional athletes, because athletic outcome would be an effect. So we want to know specifically about increased results in championships and professional athletes and performance-enhancing drugs, which is why all of those are in quotes in the Google search statement. When we enter the second search statement into Google, Google Scholar pops up with scholarly articles, and there's a great scholarly article that actually documents the performance-enhancing drugs increasing performance in track and field athletes. And that was really interesting because it answered part of our research question. This is a great source. Number one, it's from Google Scholar. Number two, it's the American Journal of Sports Medicine, which is endorsed by the American Orthopedic Society for Sports Medicine, and it's a great site and it's super reliable. Going back to our second search statement, we're going to look at some of the other articles. I'm not seeing a ton about anything that's going to be super reliable other than the NCAA.org. There's a lot of .coms and blogs and everything, but again, not reliable information. So we click on this and it talks a lot about track and field, and it makes me want to incorporate track and field into my next search statement to maybe narrow down my search a little bit. And I probably wouldn't put this source in my top 3 just because it's NCAA, which is collegiate athletics, and the search question is focused on professional athletics. So from my findings in my last search statement, for my third search statement, I'm going to narrow it down to professional runners rather than professional athletes. And I'm going to include not cheating because I'm tired of finding personal blogs about whether or not using performance-enhancing drugs is cheating, because that's not my search question. When I enter this third search statement into Google, I come across a lot of articles, and honestly, it's just a bunch of blogs ripping doping and drugs and professional athletes, and I don't really want those because those are very obviously one-sided. But I did come across a source that is really awesome, and this is a magazine source, and I like it because it compares the results of a lot of professional athletes, and it shows just facts-based what their results were and how their performance was enhanced by using drugs. This is reliable. You can see the author and they have a sitemap, so I feel good about using it. And finally, due to the information that was found in my 3 search statements, I'm going to refine my initial research question to include professional runners rather than professional athletes.